Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the third episode of Through the People Lens, Reimagining Workforce and Talent, an exclusive video interview series brought to you by ETHRWorld EMEA and PeopleStrong. I'm Yasmin Taj, editor features, ETHRWorld EMEA and ET Education at the Economic Times, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all today. Through this series, we will spotlight leading CHROs from top organizations across the Middle East region. These interviews will delve into how forward-thinking HR leaders are pioneering futuristic strategies to build a resilient, agile, and future-ready workforce. Each interview will explore how these CHROs are transforming talent management and aligning their workforce with the ever-evolving world of work. We will host 10 in-depth interviews with key CHROs, each providing valuable insights into innovative HR practices, cutting-edge technologies, and the future of talent. The interviews will not only address current trends, but also share unique actionable strategies to help organizations thrive in the age of automation, AI, and digital transformation. And the theme for today's interview is crafting a winning employer brand. To further deep dive into these insights, today I have the pleasure of hosting Amro Talal, People, Culture and Environment Director for TAMER Healthcare, along with 𝐏𝐞𝐨𝐻𝐿, Tripathi, President Growth PeopleStrong. Welcome, leaders. It is such a pleasure to have you on board with us today. And before we start the conversation, let me briefly introduce our leaders for today's episode. Amro Talal, People, Culture and Environment Director at TAMER Healthcare, brings deep expertise in strategic human resource management, blending a results-driven approach with a commitment to fostering a people-first culture. As a leader at TAMER Healthcare, he has successfully designed retention programs and compensation plans that align seamlessly with organizational goals. With a focus on sustainability through human capital, his leadership philosophy emphasizes empowering talent and driving impactful change. Under his guidance, the organization has maintained exemplary quality standards, demonstrating his dedication to nurturing talent and steering towards continued success. So thank you once again so much for joining us, Amro.
Thank you for having us.
Coming over to 𝐏𝐿𝐴 now, 𝐏𝐿𝐴 is a strategy consultant turned digital entrepreneur turned growth leader. He is a core member of the HCM business, leading growth and expansion globally for PeopleStrong. An MBA from INSEAD, 𝐏𝐿𝐴 is a builder at heart. A serial entrepreneur, he has channeled his energies towards building companies, the latest being acquired and part of the PeopleStrong product suite. Thank you once again, 𝐏𝐿𝐴, for joining us for this conversation. All right, let's start with something interesting then. Amro, I'm going to ask you a few rapid-fire questions, and we would love to hear your answers in one short sentence. So shall we begin?
Sure. Yeah,
Great.
sure. Fire away.
All right. So, Amro, what's the one thing you aspire to achieve as an HR leader by 2025?
Talent retention and being competitive in the talent market, especially in Saudi at this time.
Great. What keeps you awake at night when it comes to employer branding?
Staying authentic and keeping the brand equity as big as what the company wanted and how it was established and to maintain the purpose of the organization.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Okay, the first word that comes to your mind when you think of employer brand of the future?
Attraction and adaptability with rapid change and AI driven organizations.
Okay, lovely. Great. Thank you. And the final rapid question for you, one emerging skill set that you think every healthcare professional will need by 2030?
Having the AI adaptability or knowledge and implementations and to be able to cope with the technologies and again measuring performance versus a lot of variables happening in the world.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That sets the tone also when you're speaking about employer brand. You said that authenticity is very important, adaptability is very important. So, and aligning your employer branding strategy with the thought process of and the vision of the company is important. So my next question to you, Amro, is crafting a compelling employer value proposition is central to building a winning employer brand. So what unique aspects of TAMER Healthcare's EVP resonate most with your employees and prospective talent?
Our EVP centered around strong commitment to employee development, work-life balance, collaborative culture. We promote well-being. We have a program called HEAL that promotes healthy work-life balance, and we try to take care of our employees as much as we take care of our patients and or our customers who use our tools and our products and the healthcare industry. So we have to balance between our own people and the external people as well. So that's our EVP, and maintaining our purpose in terms of career growth. We're regarded as a school in the industry. So we teach whoever wants to graduate and get their career improved or takes off from healthcare industry perspective, they join TAMER because we always are committed to people development and their growth.
Interesting. That's very interesting to know that you are regarded as a school and where people come to
Yes.
learn. Yeah, I think that's a huge
Yes.
way to build a value proposition, I must say, because that's how people learn. If you are an organization which promotes learning for people, along with taking care of their well-being, not only of the business, because of the business that you're into, but also of your internal employees, that actually creates a very, very good proposition for your employer brand. So interesting to start with. Thanks for sharing that, Amro. Miran, I'd like to come to you next. Based on your experience working with organizations across various industries, what are some of the challenges that organizations face when building an employer brand, especially in this tech-savvy world today?
I think the first is, firstly, thanks for having us here. Really appreciate this opportunity to sort of talk about this. Employer branding has evolved over the past few decades. I won't say necessarily say years. Earlier, we used to think of employer branding saying, hey, I've got a job. Oh, great. That's the extent of employer branding. You've got a good job and a good brand, and that used to matter to everybody. Today, it has moved beyond that. Employees want to be associated with a brand that is recognized in the industry as a leader. Employees want to be able to be transparently told that this is where your future is. Employees want an experience which is that of a consumer-facing industry with Facebook and Snapchat, and Facebook is now old actually, Instagram, Snapchat, and the like. You want experience which is literally at the same level. And finally, they want to be owners of their own time. They want outcomes, not time management. What we've seen is that this is a the last point that I mentioned about outcomes is a very critical point in employee value prop, right? So when employees come to companies, do you have a brand? Check. Do you have good technology? Last on the list, but important once they're inside the organization. Most important for them is, do I have enough work-life balance, and whether my manager and managers / the company, are they more focused on outcomes, or are they just going to say, have you checked in? Have you punched in? Have you punched out? What is your OT? And so on and so forth. Those are things which I think are becoming less and less important now. People want to be known for the work that they've done. They want to be appreciated for the work that they've done, and they don't want to be managed on a minute-by-minute basis. That where are you? What are you doing? And stuff like that. These are, I think that's really what we've seen. The best companies today are now moving towards saying, we don't need attendance. Forget about attendance. I don't want to have attendance. I want to have everything basis outcomes. So performance management has become all the more important because now outcomes are related directly to performance. As long as my outcome is there, my manager should know of it, the company should know of it, I should get paid for my outcomes, and that's all that it is. You tell me what you want, I'll deliver it however I want. Now, with ChatGPT by my side, maybe I'll be able to do it faster. Who knows? But you should not be the one who's judging me on how I deliver it. Be worried about my delivery. That employer value prop, I believe, from the differentiation between time versus outcome has been the biggest change that we have seen in the past few days.
I think that's a great point, Mridang. I think once COVID struck and the workplaces went into an entire tizzy of adapting to hybrid remote work, flexibility became so important, and employees also what they expected out of the employers started changing. And that's where this comes to play, that I'll work the way I want to. I will deliver what is required. So look at my outcome and not how I'm doing it. And give me the kind of work-life balance and integration also. I think that's very interesting. So thanks for sharing that. And also, Amro, I'd like to come back to you. I think Regan did speak about the technology is also a very important trying to build, perceptions of an employer brand. Digital channels play a very pivotal role also. So, how has TAMER Healthcare leveraged tools to craft a compelling and authentic brand identity?
We actually have developed our entire HR system around technologies where we communicate our values and our brand through digital platforms, and this started from, well, in recruitment you start, well, in attractions you start from sourcing to our communications on our social platforms, on LinkedIn and things. We express stories behind the scenes. We express how life within TAMER looks like. And if you go through our LinkedIn page, you'll see that we have so many activities that emphasize on our brand and on attracting the younger generations, because this is how we need to keep going. Moving on, we've developed a simple to use platform of hiring or recruitment, where people can use can apply through their LinkedIn accounts, or they don't need to be filling up lots of information and get attached to it. We went even further and started doing digital campaigns within universities and within schools. We've started even building at schools to get that brand out there, and we connect them with how they're living their lives, because we provide medicines or medications and medical equipment, and we tell people how this is impacting them on daily life, and that keeps a brand connection with them. We're a 105 years old company, where we started with the purpose of the wellness and well-being of people, and that has to be presented in our brand, and we use the digital mediums into how we communicate and over communicate with people to reach where we are.
Thank you for sharing that, Amro. I think, as you said, that using social media to present what your organization stands for, what life looks like inside the organization. So that kind of messaging, that authentic value proposition that you can show through technology, I think it's critical in building a very strong employer brand. So thanks for sharing that. Amrikan, coming back to you, and I think we've seen data-driven decision making is becoming very, very critical in all our HR functions. So how can HR teams use data-driven decisions or fine-tune their employer branding strategy with data and attract higher quality candidates?
I think skills is the new buzzword, really. And when you look at data internally within an organization, I mean, data in isolation is kind of not really very relevant unless and until you're juxtaposing that data to the strategy of growth or strategy of acquisition or strategy of customer success, whatever that is, right? In this case, firstly, you need to have a repository of data of your entire organization. What are the skills inside your organization? Do you understand that? Do you have a tally of that? Basis which you can basis your strategy. Then if you're able to say, hey, I think we're going to need A, B, and C other skills, you can actually look into your organization, see, do you have them? Do you have some of them who are at early stages of that and they should be grown? That will define your learning outcomes. Do you not have certain things? You need to acquire them, either learning or recruitment. Do you have an excess type of a skill in some place to be able to sort of then say, move this person to something else or a higher position? All decision making should be led by data, is what my fundamental belief is. And that's how we've also designed our systems. You need to have that central repository of all your employees. Like I talk about this often. We had a client who wanted to recruit somebody at a specific location for a specific type of a position. And they said, look, we'll have to go out there and recruit somebody. It'll take us 6 months, 9 months to get that person in, and it'll cost us X amount of money. And then said, why don't we just look internally? So they used the system, and because they had the data of their entire organization, the system threw up 5 people who were spread across the entire country, right? And nobody knew about that. But they were matching all the skills, matching all the timelines, matching all the certification that were required to fill that specific job. So these guys were called in. They were interviewed and they were put up. The time taken to do this, 1.5 months versus 9 months. Now, is that a benefit that the data is actually given you? Yes, it has, because you've got that central repository and the other tools to be able to make the decision. So it's not only that I need to use data to recruit, I need to use data to drive my strategy forward. And the data should be available in one single place and keep on getting filled on a regular basis automatically without me having to say, oh, I don't have this data. The system should actually say, look, if somebody has completed a learning course, this skill has been added to him. During the performance metric, this guy is rated a 4.5 out of 5. This should also go and sit in the data. It's like literally keep on filling the personal profile of every single person so that when you need it, a system should be able to search across everything and come up and say, here are your guys, please do what you want, right? That's the way the data should really be used.
Yeah, because
Exactly, that's what helped us. I'm sorry to cut in, but this is how it helped us in TAMER healthcare, because what we do in terms of maintaining the brand value is to and being regarded as a school. We always depended on data on promoting people and promoting from within. And even when we had flaws in our process, we went back to the data and we saw what was happening and why we had people leaving us. Our attrition rate got higher, so we looked at it and we fixed it. And again, having that database helped a lot in maintaining that brand equity.
Exactly. I think you need data to make to understand what's working and what's working. You don't have to make random decisions then. You can actually, depend on that data to give you the right answers. It's about also a lot depends on data in, data out. Also, the kind of data, as Vedant said, has to be fed into the system, has to be very carefully done, that you have a single repository so that you can create the right kind of analysis out of the data that's available. So, and that eventually helps you build a very compelling employer brand story. So thanks for sharing that, Vedant and Amro, both of you. Amro, I'd like to ask you again about how do you said you use technology, you use data to create that kind of an employer brand story. So how do you measure the success of TAMER Healthcare's employer branding initiatives, and what strategies have you ensured that the brand identity remains authentic and sustainable in this competitive talent market?
So we actually rely on technology to provide us data and to measure our KPIs. So we have the lagging and indicators, and we have the following or indicators or post-mark indicators. So we do when retention rates, we check are we retaining the employees that were attracted because of our brand or not. Their development, their growth, their tenure, and actually we go every 3 years. We start calculating the trajectory of people. So if their career growth when they entered to where they're at this stage. So we have multiple assessments, and we use technology to support us in this. So we start with the 30 or with the 90 days probation period, we call it. So it's the first 90 days where people have they found the brand promise meeting their expectations or not, and then we measure the next 1 year of their growth, and then what's their development needs. And again, to maintain that school identity, we invest a lot in people development, and we have to measure all these learnings and all these results, and that's how we maintain that authenticity.
Great,
One of the
thanks. Yes,
one of the things that Amro mentioned was, I think the only measure of a great employee value prop is exactly what Amro said, retention. If your attrition is going down, that means that your value prop is relevant to the market today, to the company today, to the employees who are in the organization today. Because just remember, everybody out there is trying to get the best of the best from the school of the best, right? So you want to be able to make sure that your employer branding and everything is measured in the best way. As long as people are staying back, as long as people are happy, you're all sorted.
One more thing that we actually emphasize on, and again to maintain that growth and that development is we always communicate our core values and over communicate. I mean, one of the things that companies fail in delivering their brand promise or their brand equity is they sometimes take it for granted that people will search and find out what their core values are, or what's the company's competitive edge in terms of core of values and brand equity. But what we do here in TAMER, we over communicate. We have an actually a 7-meter high by 3 meters wide screen in the middle of the company, digital screen that we communicate all our values, we communicate our news and everything, just to get people going through this, and they see it every day. Every time they can get into the company, they see all of this. So that maintains what we want to stay relevant and competitive to the market.
Great. A very interesting example, I must say, because communication is never enough. You never over communicate, but yes, your messaging has to get through to your employees and also to your candidates. And as Mridang and both of you pointed out, attraction is just one step in your employer brand. Retention is what actually is the real deal, I think. And if people are staying with you, it means there's something that's really working well for them. So thank you for sharing that. Also, Mridang, let's talk a little bit about PeopleStrong's platform now. How do you support organizations in aligning their HR strategies with their broader business goals, especially in the context of enhancing and communicating their employer brand?
One of the biggest questions, and this is an anecdote, one of the biggest questions that employees ask when they're actually, or one of the biggest reasons that they give when they're leaving an organization is, I don't see my growth path in the company. I don't see what is in there for my company, right? Now, if you were to break this one sentence down, you would realize what it really is talking about is just transparency. And frankly speaking, sometimes even the manager doesn't necessarily know exactly what will be the growth path of the person, given the fact that they don't have direct visibility on what are the skills, what have they done in the past, how are they faring vis-a-vis the rest of the organization, and so on and so forth. If you can, what we've done is we've said the whole talent arena needs to be managed in a continuous manner. So right from recruitment to learning, to performance, to succession planning, to organization development, to be able to even do compensation, everything needs to be linked together using a skills and competency framework. And that's what we've brought together, right? And that's why companies love us and they say, okay, we haven't really found anything that's integrated to this level. But what this does at an employee level perspective is it gives transparency to an individual. So let's say there is a sales executive. I'm just taking a simple example. Sales executive who joins an organization is recruited based on certain skills. But at that time itself, we understand that skill number 2, 3, and 4 are slightly weak for this person, right? So if skill number 2, 3, and 4 are slightly weak, then the learning platform should kick in and help the person grow those 2 or 3 skills for that person to be able to perform optimally. Once those skills are done through the learning platform, all this data is now getting captured in that one database. Using the skills framework, the person can also go around and say, hey, I need to actually just be able to, what is my future looking like? What all can I do in this organization? So if there's a linear path, what are the skills that I need to acquire to move to the next level? What do I need to do to move to a different type of a path? That's transparency. And that's not something that, a lot of times managers are also not able to give them exactly that. If you do this, 100% you're now sorted. Because if it's written down and this is available to me as an employee, then I can go and look it up and say, hey, I have to acquire these 4 skills. If I acquire this, then I am in line for a promotion or moving to the next level, which is perfectly fine. But if you don't know, then the manager doesn't know, then saying, I don't know what's in it for me. How am I going to grow? So that whole transparency that we bring using this one continuum system is really what I think has been our biggest achievement. And that's why our talent operating system is utilized so extensively in the Middle East, as well as in India and across the globe. Because that one system, allowing everything from recruitment to compensation and more, is a great place to be at.
And I think it helps in developing the people, because once you do this, you will retain them. Sorry, it helps in retention rather than developing. Developing people will always help you in retaining. Well, one thing that we always face in the Middle East is the high demand of skilled employees, and with the PIF companies coming into play and with the Vision 2030. If you do not develop your own employees and allow them to grow with a clear transparency, they will leave you, and they leave you in a heartbeat. And I think PeopleStrong are doing great in that system.
Yeah. I think it all boils down to giving them that one unified experience where they see not just how they are doing, but where they are leading up to their entire career journey right in front of their eyes. And that's what keeps them strong and loyal to our organization. And I think that system, that kind of technology does wonders. So yes, PeopleStrong is doing a great job at it. So thanks for sharing that, Meghang. Amro, coming back to you, can you take us through the biggest challenges you believe that organizations face when building their employer brand, especially in the age of social media? Because you spoke about how TAMER Healthcare is already using social media to a large extent. What challenges do you think come across?
So today, social media can help you in attracting talents, but also can be used against you, because if you try to harvest positive opinion on social media or maintain positive presence, but you always have that angry employee that would go on social media and start venting and things. So what you need to try to balance is to some extent try and harvest or collect surveys from employees, understanding what is changing in their work, in their life, and so on, and mitigate these risks before they be presented on social media. On the other hand, you want to stay authentic, even if you have an upset employee or a negative feedback on the social media. You need to always be transparent and respond to people and understand, having that empathy and compassion with what they're going through. And I think just be yourself. I mean, company has to stay true to its identity, to its brand. Once you do this, other positive employees will always be sharing and posting things. I mean, we measure our employee engagement every quarter, and we do this through several platforms or medias, and however, they actually post their daily routines on social medias, and we keep close eye on this because we want to know if they're feeling it positive or not, and we give them opportunities to even share our brand values. If they've helped saving a life, or if they participated in an event where they learned something new, or when they been recognized by the company or by their managers or by their colleagues. So we try keeping that positive presence, because that is our brand promise. We say we're a family-like organizations. We're a company that has been there for 105 years. We know how to take care of people, of patients, and we know how to take care of our own people. And we keep trying to show this throughout the year.
Lovely. Great. I think I so agree with you. I think social media is such a quick way of building a perception. So using it the right way can make a big difference. It is scary and fearful as well, because people can use it to some anger and frustration. But then the organizational values, if they are out there in the and you have brand ambassadors as your own employees working as brand ambassadors, I think that also helps a great deal. So thank you, Amro, for sharing that. Yeah. Meghang, I'd like to now know from you some trends in employer branding that you think will become even more relevant, and how is PeopleStrong's vision in helping organizations stay ahead of the curve and adapting these trends? So can you take us through some future crystal gazing?
Sure, no problems. I think 3 or 4 key things that we've seen, and I mentioned one of them earlier on, outcomes versus time. I think this is going to be the biggest element. It's not necessarily relevant for every single type of industry, but more and more industries that we come across, we're seeing that companies or employees want outcomes rather than time management. Please penalize me if I don't give the outcome, but please also reward me if I give you the outcome before time. And don't be worried about, are you present or not and stuff like that. Because I think fundamentally we just need to sort of change that overall appeal. So that's a big thing that has actually happened. Second is Second is the whole experience layer of things. We've seen that experience for an employee, and that could be a manager, a frontline employee, a finance executive, whosoever, needs to be seamless. And I'm not talking only from a technology perspective. Technology, if it is very easy to sort of utilize, then other elements should also be similarly easy to utilize. Like I'll give you a simple example. You have the slickest of mobile applications, but for you to be able to apply for a change of your old rickety laptops takes 3 forms and 5 approvals. It's a problem, right? So you can't necessarily just say, look, I've given you the best application and that's all. No, you need to look at it internally from a user experience perspective. What's actually the experience at each level? When you're onboarding, you have to sort of sit in a room and fill out 15 forms and then provide A, B, and C. That's not the best experience. You need to be a bit more agile to be able to say everything will be done before you actually come in and we'll be able to do much more than that. So those are some smaller elements. So the experience element of it is moving beyond just pure technology. The third element is, of course, money will always remain important. But I think people are now realizing that it's one life, and I want to also follow some passions of mine, right? And that's something that we've seen more and more. And the company that allows for good pay, maybe not absolute top dollar, but is willing to look after some of the other elements of it, will be a better employer, will have a better employer value proposition than someone who says, look, I'll just give you top dollar. Because top dollar doesn't necessarily take away the biggest commodity that they actually have, which is time, which is also part of the point now. And the fourth element is of inclusiveness. Now, not just from a diversity perspective, but also from an overall family perspective. Today, employees don't want that, what am I getting? I'll give you a small example. A client of ours, they were seeing a lot of discontentment in their employees and stuff, and they were seeing a bit of attrition happening in a specific type of employee. And what happened is that they did a bit of a survey and they changed one thing which brought their attrition level down from 10% to 0.75%. I was amazed when I found this out, because what they did was they said, look, everybody who's attriting is typically someone who's married, in their 35 to 40, and staying in urban areas. And these are good talent, right? So they did that research and they said, what is it that we can do? The only thing that they did was they included the in-laws in the insurance policy. That's it. They didn't change anything else. The only thing that they said was your in-laws are also now covered along with the parents. Full stop. They didn't do anything else, right? And what that did was, now whether it was a male or a female, it doesn't matter. But as long as you have two forces of the same family saying, no, there's no need to leave because there is a hook that you've gotten into the family as well, it is, they will not leave. That, and of course, having a bit more connect with the overall family for recognition and stuff like that. I think these are four things that we're seeing more and more of. Companies need to move a bit beyond just the standard approach of saying, what will you get? What's your total comp? What's your X, Y, and Z? To looking at these holistic elements of stuff. I mean, this is a favorite topic of mine, and I can go on for hours around this, because I've actually had very in-depth discussions with CHROs and CEOs around how to do employee value proposition and stuff. So yeah, these are four key trends that I've seen.
Very, very interesting trends, Nigam. Thank you so much. I think employer branding has gone so much beyond what it used to be today. It has to be so personalized, so well thought through, so authentic. Because if you care for your people, you have to look at larger aspects and not just focus on, as you said, the top dollar is not working anymore. It's giving them a purpose in life, giving them meaning, giving them the flexibility to work, focus more on outcomes. I think that's what will make other employers stand out from their competitors. So thanks for sharing that. Some really, really interesting trends. Coming to the last question now, Amro, I'll come back to you for this. What's that one practice that you would like to start or improve to build a future-ready employer brand that aligns with your organizational goals?
We want to build an agile organizations, or continue being in agile organizations. Our ultimate goals is to serve the Saudi and Arabian Peninsula in becoming healthy, and well, we serve the well-being of employees and or not employees, of the people. And I think we want to emphasize more onto employee experience, where the organization is faster to take decisions, is faster to empower people. People are able to take command of their jobs. They can see how their jobs matter and reflect on the society. One of our values is passion to learn. So we want people, we want to work on instilling this further and further, where we only hire passionate people, and that can keep the organization growing. You've limited me into one practice, but I think we in that domain, it's more than one practice, because you need to, especially with the new generations, and they become more educated and more tech savvy, and so we need to implement on technologies, we need to advance on technologies, we need to start. I mean, AI is already, they're much smarter than us in using these tools now. So the organization needs to adapt and grow further to this. And I think with the big data previously, and now with the Gen AI, we need to be able to capture all of this and transform it into a seamless employee experience that can maintain our brand promise and our AVP, if you want to say.
Good. Thanks for sharing that, Amro. With the legacy that you have of 105 years, I think you've already done a superb job at that. But yes, the way the world is changing, technology can help you enhance that proposition better. Employee experience, not just for people who are already with you, but people who are joining your organization. That kind of that personal touch to that is going to make a lot of difference. So thanks for sharing that. I think authenticity is what the key message that we are getting out of your conversation here today. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that was all the time we had for this episode. I would really, really like to thank Amro and Mrigank for answering our questions with such depth and clarity. So what I'd like to conclude with is that in today's competitive landscape, a compelling employer brand is no longer optional. It is a strategic necessity. So by leveraging technology, I think organizations can personalize engagement, gain deeper insights into employee expectations, amplify their. I think this together will help create an authentic narrative that not just attracts top talent while fostering long-term loyalty, it also helps you retain better talent for a longer term, I think. So it's all about being authentic. It's all about taking care of your employees, helping them be their best selves by giving them that opportunities around to build. And that's what you build your employer brand on. So once again, Amro, Mrigank, thank you so much for your time. It was a wonderful discussion today.
Thank you very much. It's been great to be here and very insightful sessions.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to thank our wonderful guests and our viewers for tuning in through the People Lens, reimagining workforce and talent on the theme, crafting an employer, a compelling employer brand, along with ETHRWorld, EMEA, and PeopleStrong. So stay tuned for more exciting episodes. Until then, take care and bye-bye. Thank you.